I read a lot of the comments on the first video in this series that I uploaded the other day, and it seems like a lot of you would rather me do just a top 10 redraft where I can include any player drafted in that class as opposed to just re-ranking the players who were drafted in the top 10. So that's the way we're going to do it today, and once you guys are finished, you can let me know if you enjoy this format more or the one we did in the most recent video, and then we can go from there. As you can tell, today we're going to be redrafting the top 10 picks from the 2017 NHL draft, a draft class that is pretty interesting to look back on. There's a lot of players that were selected in the top 10 in 2017 that haven't really panned out the way the teams that drafted them would have liked. However, there is still a ton of top end talent that came from this class, and there's a good amount of players that were drafted outside of the top 10 that are going to be featured in this video and in the top 10 redraft. Before we get started, let's take a look at how the actual top 10 went in the 2017 draft. Nico Hischier was selected first overall by the Devils. You had Nolan Patrick number 2 to the Philadelphia Flyers, Miro Heiskanen number 3 to Dallas, Cale Makar number 4 to Colorado, Pettersson at number 5 to the Canucks. He had Cody Glass taken 6th overall by the Vegas Golden Knights, Elias Anderson 7th overall to the Rangers, Casey Mittelstadt at number 8 to Buffalo, Michael Rasmussen number 9 to the Red Wings, and Owen Tippett at number 10 to the Panthers. Now let's clear the board, get started with my redraft. Going 10th overall to the Florida Panthers here, I have them selecting Marty Necas, who was originally the 12th overall pick in this draft by the Carolina Hurricanes. He was drafted as a center, has played a good amount of center in his NHL career so far, but in my opinion, he kind of seems more like a winger to me, and he's better suited for the wing. He's yet to finish a season in his career with a faceoff percentage above 50%, and his defensive game definitely needs a lot of work. That being said though, Necas has a ridiculous amount of offensive talent. He had 41 points last season in 53 games, has dropped off a little bit this season, just 29 points in 52 games, but he's still over half point per game pace. His shooting percentage this season is below 10% when you compare it to his first 3 seasons in the NHL. It was 16.7, 18.2, and then 12.3. And Necas, I feel like, has really yet to be unleashed at the NHL level. He doesn't get the kind of minutes that, top end forwards get on most teams. He plays under 17 minutes a night this season. His career high in ice time came last season. He played a little over 17 minutes a night. I like Necas a lot though. I feel like when he's on top of his game, he's incredibly exciting to watch, and I feel like once he's in his prime, this is a player who can consistently be like a 65 to 70 point scorer. So I got Marty Necas going 10th overall to the Florida Panthers. Moving on now to the 9th overall pick, I have the Detroit Red Wings selecting centerman Josh Norris, who was originally the 19th overall selection in this draft by the Sharks, but was traded to Ottawa as part of the Erik Karlsson deal. And although Josh Norris hasn't played the amount of games as a lot of the other guys we're going to see in this top 10 redraft, he's played just 96 so far in his career, but he has been so good in that sample size, playing tough minutes for a bad team. I feel like I couldn't justify leaving him out of the top 10. I believe Josh Norris is going to be a very good top-line two-way centerman for the Ottawa Senators for a long time, and honestly, over the years, I wouldn't be surprised if, someone revisits a 2017 redraft like 5 years from now, and Josh Norris could be a lot higher. Moving on now to the 8th overall pick in this redraft, I have the Buffalo Sabres selecting Robert Thomas, who was originally selected 20th overall in this draft by the St. Louis Blues, and the Blues definitely have to be pretty happy with how this draft pick has turned out for them. Robert Thomas has continued to get better year after year, and after being, for the first couple of years of his career, just a really solid two-way middle six forward who scores, a little bit below or close to a half point per game pace. This year, he's finally having that real big breakthrough offensive season. He's got 42 points in 49 games. His ice time has skyrocketed from averaging, 13, 14 minutes a night for the first 3 seasons of his career to this season averaging close to 19 minutes a night. I feel like that definitely goes to show how happy the St. Louis Blues coaching staff has been with his development. They obviously trust him a lot more this season to play bigger minutes. I think Robert Thomas is going to be very good for a very long time. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things, so I have him 8th overall in my redraft. Next up at number 7, we have the New York Rangers, and I'm going with them selecting Drake Batherson, who was originally taken in the 4th round, 121st overall by the Ottawa Senators, so a massive jump for Batherson in this redraft. He's easily one of the biggest draft steals in recent memory. I'm a huge fan of Batherson's game. It's so unfortunate that his season had to get cut short because he was playing amazing for the Senators, over a point per game with 34 points in 31 games. He scored at well above a 20-goal pace last season as well in the shortened season. I really think Jake Batherson has all the tools to be one of the league's premier power forwards. He's got a real heavy shot, uses his size well when it comes to forechecking and winning puck battles down low. Batherson is a beast. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does when he comes back from injury, so I have him going 7th overall to the Rangers in this redraft. Moving on now to the Vegas Golden Knights with the 6th overall pick. This is where things really got tough for me. I have them selecting Nico Hischier, who was obviously originally the 1st overall pick from this draft. Part of me feels like I have Nico Hischier a little bit too low here, but then I look at the players that I have ahead of him, and I really just can't justify having Nico Hischier anywhere higher than 6th. Now that being said, Nico Hischier is obviously still a fantastic player. He was one of the few players from the 2017 draft class that came out right out of the gate and played in his draft plus 1 season in the NHL and had a very good rookie season, 52 points, which is still a career high for him. I would say his defensive game has progressed nicely. He's not going to win any Selke trophies by any means, but for a centerman that's still relatively young, his defensive game is okay. Obviously, pretty much ever since coming into the league, he's played pretty tough minutes and, has carried a big load on his shoulders. He's now one of the youngest captains in the league. I really like Nico Hischier a lot. He played for the Halifax Mooseheads in his draft year. I got to watch him live a ton. I think he's a fantastic player. Obviously, he's dropping down a good bit here from 1st overall to 6th overall in my redraft, but there's a lot of top-end talent from this class. Getting into the top 5 now with the 5th overall selection, I have the Vancouver Canucks selecting Nick Suzuki, who was originally the 13th overall pick in this draft by the Vegas Golden Knights. This is the one that I really went back and forth on. I was sitting there trying to decide for a long time whether I wanted to put Nico Hischier 5th overall or Nick Suzuki. Obviously, I decided to give the edge to Suzuki here, and basically my thought process having Suzuki over Hischier was season by season, they have had similar points per game numbers. None of them are elite offensive talents, but they're both still really solid offensive contributors in a similar way. But Nick Suzuki's defensive game is so much further along than Nico Hischier's, and I don't know how, but this season, even though the Montreal Canadiens have been awful, Suzuki's defensive numbers have stayed very, very good. Suzuki has also proven that he can do it in the postseason as well. His career points per game in the playoffs is actually higher than it is in the regular season. I think both Suzuki and Hischier are fantastic, but I decided to give Suzuki the edge and put him 5th overall here just because I feel like his overall game is a little bit more polished at this point than Nico Hischier's is. Next up, we have the Colorado Avalanche, and with the 4th overall pick, I have them selecting Jason Robertson, who was originally a 2nd round pick by the Dallas Stars, 39th overall. An absolute steal of a draft pick by Dallas. Ever since coming into the league last season, Jason Robertson has been dominant. However, I do kind of feel like if I had him anywhere higher than number 4, it would have been a little bit too much of a recency bias there, because he has only played 102 NHL games up until this point, but he has been so dominant over that sample size. Obviously, this season, he's been dominant to a whole other extent. I feel comfortable having him at number 4, even though he's only in the midst of his 2nd NHL season when, some of the other guys drafted in this class are in their 5th and 4th seasons, because Jason Robertson really has that game-breaking ability. He has been one of the absolute best wingers in the National Hockey League this season. I've said it multiple times throughout the season. I feel like he's one of the most underrated players in the league right now. There's really nothing Jason Robertson does poorly, and I feel like week after week, month after month, he just continues to get better and better. So I have him going 4th overall to the Colorado Avalanche here. Now moving into the top 3 with the 3rd overall pick, I have the Dallas Stars selecting Miro Heiskanen, so he stays in the exact same spot he went in the actual 2017 draft. I really feel like Miro Heiskanen often gets overlooked when you talk about the best young defenseman in the league. Cale Makar gets brought up a ton, obviously Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, now Moritz Seider in that conversation as well, but Miro Heiskanen should be in that group with all those guys. I feel like Heiskanen has the potential to be a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. Sure, he's not like a point per game defenseman, like a Cale Makar, and doesn't put up quite the offensive numbers, of an Adam Fox, but he's definitely no slouch offensively. I feel like this season he would have put up a career high in points. Obviously, it's not going to happen now. He was just placed on the long-term injured reserve by the Dallas Stars. He's out indefinitely, so get well soon, Miro Heiskanen. But just look at Miro Heiskanen's performance when Dallas made that run to the Stanley Cup Final in 2020. He had 26 points in 27 games. He was dominant offensively. He was fantastic defensively as well, playing extremely tough matchups. He was playing right around 26 minutes a night. Heiskanen is a two-way beast. He's going to be one of the best defensemen in the NHL for a very long time, and I feel like you could already make the argument that he maybe should be 2nd overall in this redraft. Moving on now to my 2nd overall pick in the redraft, I have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting Elias Pettersson, who was originally taken 5th overall in this draft by the Canucks. Moving on now with the 2nd overall pick, I have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting Elias Pettersson. Man, I'm sure Philly wishes they had a do-over of this draft. I really feel like a lot of people kind of forget just how good Elias Pettersson is because he hasn't been quite as dominant over the past 2 seasons as he was in his sophomore season, where I feel like he was legitimately pound for pound one of the best players in the the entire league, and at his peak, I really believe that's what Elias Pettersson is, one of the best players in the league. Obviously, he got off to a really slow start this season, but he's turned it around, especially over the past month or so. He's been on fire. He is a surefire first-line center who, for the majority of his career, has put up fantastic two-way results. I feel pretty confident in saying Elias Pettersson is the best forward from this draft class, and I think it's going to stay that way for a long time. Listen, I love Jason Robertson, but I still think I'm taking Pettersson over him. And now that just leaves us with the first overall pick, and I mean, it's a pretty obvious one. You probably knew who it was before even clicking on this video. First overall, I have the New Jersey Devils selecting defenseman Cale Makar, originally taken with the 4th overall pick in this draft by the Colorado Avalanche, and I've said this a couple of times before, but I really view Cale Makar as like the Connor McDavid of defensemen. He's the definition of a game breaker. He's scoring, close to like a 96-point pace this season or something like that. His defensive numbers are also very good, mostly because he always has the puck. The things that Cale Makar does in tight spaces when he's walking the blue line, his ability to just completely shift his body and go a different way and create space, it's like nothing I've really ever seen before from a defenseman. Makar is just the ideal, perfect defenseman. I will go as far as saying he's a generational talent, and I feel like a lot of you would agree with me on that as well. So without a doubt, in a 27 redraft, Cale Makar would 1000% be the first overall pick. So that is going to wrap up my 2017 NHL Top 10 redraft. I'll just quickly go over it again. Martin Necas, number 10 to the Florida Panthers. Josh Norris, 9th overall to the Red Wings. Robert Thomas to Buffalo at 8. Drake Batherson to the Rangers at 7. Nico Hischier at 6th overall to the Vegas Golden Knights. Vancouver selecting Suzuki 5th overall. Jason Robertson 4th to the Avs. Miro Heiskanen staying in the same spot, 3rd to Dallas. Elias Pettersson at number 2 to Philadelphia. And obviously Cale Makar, number 1 to New Jersey. Now, we'll say this again, redrafts and stuff like this are completely subjective, so I'm really interested to hear what your guys' top 10 redraft would be from the 2017 draft, so if you feel like it, leave it down below in the comment section. I'd definitely be interested to see, and also be sure to let me know which draft you guys want to see me do next. Obviously, we did 2016 in the most recent video, now 2017, where do we go from here, and also, do you guys like this format better than just re-ranking the top 10 picks? Let me know all of that. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support, and most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.